Clara woke to the sound of drums. The dawn stretched across the plains in ribbons of gold, and smoke rose from the Comanche camp like spirits returning to the sky. Tahan was gone. Only his blanket lay beside the fire, folded neatly, a sign of respect. Nahima, his mother, was grinding herbs in a clay bowl. "Your body still shakes," she said softly. "You dream of the man who sold you." Clara nodded. The nightmares were sharp and cruel. Her father's shadow, the sound of the gun, the weight of betrayal. Nahima handed her a drink of bitter roots. "The body forgets faster than the soul," she murmured. Clara looked around the camp, children laughing, men tending to horses, women weaving under the open sky. It was a world different from hers. Wild, proud, alive, and yet a tension lingered in the air. Scouts returned with whispers of soldiers nearby, U.S. cavalry, searching for a kidnapped white girl. Blood Tracks Tahan returned before sunset, his face streaked with dust and pain. "They are coming," he said. 20 men. "They think I took you." Clara's throat tightened. "We have to go." He shook his head. "No, they follow tracks. If I run, they follow more. They find the camp." She looked at him, heart pounding. "Then what do we do?" He stared toward the horizon, where thunder clouds rolled like an army of gods. "We face them." Clara grabbed his arm. "They'll kill you!" Tahan met her gaze, calm, fierce, unbroken. "Maybe, but if I die with my spirit free." Her breath caught. "And what about me?" He touched the locket at her throat. "You are already free. Don't let them take that." The betrayal, that night as the storm crept closer. A man from the tribe slipped away on horseback, a trader named Koso, desperate for gold and whiskey. He rode to the nearest outpost and told the soldiers exactly where to find the stolen girl. By dawn, thunder wasn't the only thing that rolled across the plains. The sound of hooves echoed like war drums. Clara saw them first, blue coats, rifles gleaming. She ran to Tahan's tent. "They're here!" Tahan took his bow and knife. "Stay behind me." "No," she cried. "They'll shoot you." But he was already walking toward the ridge, shoulders straight, hair blowing in the storm wind. The battle at Red Earth Ridge. The soldiers rode in hard, shouting orders. Their captain waving a pistol. "Step aside, Indian!" The captain barked. "We've come for the girl." Tahan stood his ground, rain soaking his skin. "She is not yours. She's white." "She is free." The captain raised his pistol, and the world erupted. Lightning split the sky as gunfire roared. Horses reared, arrows hissed. Clara screamed his name, running through the rain, the mud gripping her feet. Tahan fought like the wind itself, silent, fierce, unstoppable. He brought down 2 soldiers before a bullet struck his shoulder. He fell to one knee. Clara ran to him, grabbing his arm. "Stop, please!" The captain aimed again. "Move, girl!" Clara stood in front of Tahan, arms outstretched. "You'll have to shoot me too." The captain hesitated. Thunder rolled, shaking the ground. Behind him, a Comanche war cry shattered the air as riders charged from the hills. The cavalry broke ranks in panic. In the chaos, Tahan pulled Clara behind a fallen horse. "Go," he shouted. "I won't leave you." He smiled, faint, fierce, beautiful. "Then live for me." The silence. After the storm, when the smoke cleared, the plains were silent again. The soldiers fled. The tribe mourned their fallen. Clara searched among the wounded, until she found Tahan lying by the river, his blood mixing with the rain. She dropped to her knees. "No, no, no." He opened his eyes slowly, finding her face. "Clara, don't speak," she whispered, pressing her hands against the wound. "You'll be okay," he shook his head. "Spirit must go home." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I can't lose you." He reached for her hand, weak but steady. "You never will. When wind touches you, when horse runs, I am there." His hand fell still. The rain stopped. The world held its breath. 1 year later, the Bishop Ranch was gone, sold to pay debts and whiskey. Clara never went back. She lived among the Comanche, learning their ways, their language, their songs. Nahima became her mother in spirit, and the children called her White Dove. Sometimes at night, she rode the black stallion Tahan once gave away, found wandering months later, across the plains under the stars. She carried his knife at her belt, his words in her heart. The world would never know their story, how a man traded his horse to free a girl who had lost everything. and gave her something greater than freedom. He gave her a reason to live. Before I begin, just to make sure, when you said yes, do you mean you want it to be romantic and emotional, dramatic and historical, or a mix of both? Once you confirm that, I'll begin writing immediately. You said, yes. ChatGPT said, all right. I'll take yes to mean you want a mix of romance, emotion, and dramatic Western realism. Here we go. Her father sold her to buy a gun, but a Comanche warrior traded his horse to set her free. Part 1. The price of a gun, approx. 5,000 words. Cinematic, emotional, and powerful. The wind swept across the plains like a ghost that had forgotten where it came from. It whispered through the dry grass, carrying the scent of dust, gunpowder, and sorrow. In the distance, a lonely ranch stood, half-broken fences, a barn missing its roof, and a girl whose childhood was ending with the setting sun. Her name was Clara May Bishop, 17 and bright as the morning sky. Her eyes carried the color of cornflowers, her hair the shade of wheat before harvest. She was her mother's last memory and her father's final disappointment. Inside the cabin, her father, Ezekiel Bishop, was counting coins on the table. His hands were rough from years of failure, crops lost, debts unpaid, and a soul worn thin by whiskey and war. The sound of boots on the porch made Clara turn. She clutched her mother's locket, the only thing she had left that wasn't broken or sold. A man entered, tall, mean, and dressed in worn leather. A gun hung at his hip, silver gleaming even in the dim light. Afternoon, he drawled. You Ezekiel Bishop? Her father nodded. You got the Colt? The stranger smiled. Colt Single Action Army, straight out of Kansas City, worth more than your whole spread. Clara's heart froze. She didn't understand. Not yet. The man laid the gun on the table like it was holy. Ezekiel's eyes drank it in. The power, the promise, the false redemption. She'll do, the man said, nodding toward Clara. Clara blinked. Papa? Ezekiel wouldn't look at her. He just picked up the revolver, spun the cylinder, and said, You'll be all right, girl. It's for the best. The man threw a small leather bag on the table, silver coins clinking. He grabbed Clara by the wrist. She screamed. The sound tore through the dry air like a knife. But Ezekiel didn't move. He just kept turning that shiny new gun in his hand. 2 days later, Comanche territory. The man who bought her, Harlan Tate, rode hard and mean. He didn't speak much, but when he did, it was to curse or laugh at her tears. They rode past rivers that shimmered with sunlight and plains so wide they made the world feel empty. Clara's wrists were bound with leather, her dress torn, her lips cracked from thirst. By the 3rd day, they crossed into Comanche land. Harlan's eyes were sharp, but even he knew fear. The Comanche didn't forgive trespassers, and the wind carried whispers of their scouts. That evening, under a blood-red sky, they stopped to camp near a river bend. Harlan tied her to a tree and went to fill his canteen. That's when she saw him. Across the water, standing like a shadow carved from the earth itself, a Comanche warrior. His horse was black as night, his face painted with red lines that spoke of courage and grief. His eyes, dark and deep, met hers. Neither moved. In that heartbeat of silence, something passed between them. Fear, yes, but also something deeper. Recognition. Harlan came back, saw her staring, and spat into the river. Don't even think about it, girl. They'd skin you alive before sunrise. But the warrior didn't move. He just vanished into the trees, silent as wind. The trade. The next day, Harlan rode into a valley surrounded by low hills. He thought he was alone. He was wrong. From the ridges above, shadows moved. Silent riders. Bows drawn. Comanche. Harlan froze, reaching for his new Colt. Before he could cock the hammer, an arrow hissed through the air and pinned his hat to a log. Another sliced through the reins of his horse. The leader rode forward, the same warrior from the river. He dismounted, his eyes never leaving Harlan. Clara's heart pounded. She couldn't understand their words, but she knew the sound of anger and of justice. Harlan raised his hands. I ain't here to fight. She's white, not yours. The warrior said something sharp and low, pointing at Clara's bound hands. Harlan sneered. You want her? Fine, trade me that horse. A murmur rippled through the other riders, but the warrior didn't hesitate. He took his horse, the black stallion, strong and proud, and led it toward Harlan. Clara's breath caught. No. Don't, Harlan grinned. Deal's a deal. The warrior tossed him the reins, then walked to Clara and cut the bonds with a knife carved from bone. She stared at him, stunned, trembling. Why? She whispered. He didn't answer, only touched his chest. Tahan, he said. My name. Tahan, she repeated softly. Then he turned, motioned for her to follow, and together they disappeared into the wild. Freedom. They rode for hours through the plains, Tahan on foot, Clara on a small bay mare. The sun was low when they reached a small camp nestled in a canyon. Tahan's people greeted him with silence and surprise. To bring a white woman was dangerous. Death could follow, from soldiers or tribes alike. But Tahan's mother, Nahima, an elder with eyes like the earth, looked at Clara and saw something beyond skin. She is lost, Nahima said in Comanche, and he has given much to save her. Tahan only nodded. For the first time in days, Clara was given water, food, and a blanket. The Comanche women looked at her curiously, some with pity, others with resentment. That night, as the campfire flickered, Clara sat beside Tahan. The stars stretched endlessly above. Why'd you do it? She finally asked. You gave away your horse. He looked at the fire, then at her. My horse carries my spirit, he said in broken English. But your spirit, it was taken, needed to be free. She felt tears sting her eyes. You don't even know me, he smiled faintly. Spirit knows spirit. The silence between them was gentle, not empty, but alive.